Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Save SA Wine live stream. Today is the 4th of November 2020, and we've got some exciting things happening today. Let's kick off the day and look at that wasn't the voting box that you saw there, although it's the US elections. Let's just go back to that picture there. Let me find it quickly. I somehow mislaid it. This is not a voting box. This is a competition where you can win wine for a year. But we're going to talk about that coming up a little bit later. I actually started off with the incorrect picture. But we need to start off today with, well, let's talk about the US elections. Neck in neck. 213 electoral college votes so far for Donald Trump, 210 for Joe Biden, and anything can happen. Not sure if those guys are going to celebrate with South African wine if they win. But whoever wins, hopefully they going to be a friendly president towards South Africa. We need all the friends we're going to get, yeah, and yeah. So let's go. Breakfast. Start the day. Breakfast with a view, and this is at haskellvineyards.com. Fantastic place to go have breakfast the whole week from Wednesday to Sunday from 10 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. Actually, I just heard yesterday that they're starting the breakfast now at 9:30. Just give them a call, 021 881 3895. That's 021 881 3895, or email them info at haskellvineyards.co.za. Make sure that you book. It's a fantastic little place to go have breakfast right on the Annandale Road in the heart of the Winelands, in beautiful, just outside beautiful Stellenbosch. Then please enjoy the best of the Winelands this week and in the coming weekend. Join our movement, facebook.com/groups/Save SA Wine. We need all the help we can get. We're going into a very, very arid tourism season. Guys, we need your help. We need you to support South African wine. If you haven't booked your Christmas holiday yet, come book it in Cape Town. I'm sure some specials will come out. Uh, on that note, let's look for Christmas specials at the moment. And there's lots of things to do in the winelands. So please support us. If you're not in the winelands, go buy a bottle of South African wine. And like I said, if you're still planning your Christmas holidays, go have it in Cape Town. And then let's look at the most famous wine pairing in the winelands. It's at our friends at Clos Melvin. They're giving a fantastic ice cream and wine experience just 5 kilometers outside of Stellenbosch on the Devon Valley Road. And they also open for lunch. And of course, they sell fantastic wines. Um, it comes to mind is the Ellie, which is the MCC. It's a fantastic wine. But go try the food and wine experience. That's really the ice cream and wine experience. That's really something different and something that you have to experience when visiting the winelands. And then your big project for this month is the Save SA Wine Mural. Um, this project is launching on the fantastic feedback from the 1660 campaign. And thanks to you, we've reached over 300,000 people per month, creating a much needed buzz around the South African wine industry. Thank you to Uncorkified Erica Taylor for spearheading this. And we are partnering with Robinson and Sinclair and Baz-Art and taking over the corner building of 192 Loop Street in Cape Town. And the mural will debut on the first Sundays, Cape Town in December, with the socially distanced Wine Street Festival that will kick off the summer. So if you want to get more involved, information how to be featured in this campaign, please message us and we'll give you the details. Use these hashtags, hashtag Save SA Wine Mural, hashtag Save SA Wine, and hashtag Drink South African. And let's pretty up Loop Street in Cape Town. And now back to our voting box. How would you like to win wine for a year? Our friends at the Fish Wines Club have decided to really make Christmas come early. And they're giving away wine for a year. It ends on the 31st of December. To enter is free. All you need to do is go to the website, enter your email address. It's wineforayear.gr8.com and be a winner. So thank you to the Fish Wines Club again for your generous sponsorship, and I'm sure people are going to join you. And everybody wants to win wine for a year. How it will work is they will deliver one case of wine a month for a year straight to your door. So that is absolutely amazing. Then, like every show ends with a featured podcast. Our featured podcast for today is none other than Ryk Melk, the owner of Mirati Wine Estate. And Ryk is going to tell us about the history of Mirati, the fantastic wines they make, the trees planted by Lawrence Kamfer, and all the stories around Mirati. So I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm back tomorrow morning at 8:30. But listen to the podcast with Ryk Melk after the explainer video. Welcome to About the Winelands. In this show, we'll be chatting to leaders, influencers, wine producers, restaurants, winelands businesses, and other role players. Tune in every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday for our latest episodes. You will find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Before we start today's show, I just want to take the opportunity to say thank you to our sponsor of the show, Lisa Loves Wines. Lisa shared with me that she has a very special offer for our listeners today. I'm not sure if our listeners are aware, but magnum-sized bottles are becoming very fashionable in Europe, and I think South Africa will follow suit shortly. So as part of her Biggest Beautiful campaign, Lisa will be offering a discount on 1.5-litre magnums. This is also a great Father's Day gift or a birthday gift. We will leave the details and links on how to get this awesome offer inside the description. Now, on with today's show. Hi everyone, and welcome back to About the Winelands. Today I'm talking to Ryk Melk. Ryk is the owner of the esteemed Mirati estate in Stellenbosch. Welcome to About the Winelands, Ryk.
It's a pleasure. Thanks very much for inviting me, Willem. That's very kind of you.
No, it's our pleasure talking to you. Thanks for taking time out of your busy life. How is life treating you with your whole lockdown situation and everything? Are you guys coping?
Yeah, I think we're trying to think out the box, trying to make the best of the situation. And you know what? There are a couple of things. One thing is you learn how to perhaps box a bit smarter. Secondly, with all the time on hand, it's funny how family time suddenly becomes very relevant again. I don't think I have consumed so many bottles of wine on 68 consecutive nights in my life before. But we've had some really good family time, good chats and all that. And that's made it special. The stress levels are obviously high. But at this time, you know, you start valuing what you've got around you and how privileged we are. So there is positive stuff in this.
Well, that's amazing. You know, Mirati is such a special place. I remember from my students' days, it was one of the first places that we used to go on to wine tours. So I'd love to hear, and I know our listeners would love to hear a little bit of the history of Mirati and, you know, the piece of heritage you have there. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's, you know, the if you come and visit us at Mirati, everybody's welcome. What we do, I try, if they make special appointments, then I will sit and chat about the history, because, you know, this place you need time to come here, really. It shouldn't be a whistle-stop tour, because we've got so much history here. You know, if you think back of, we date back to the year 1685. So what we did was, my mother, back in 1987, when my father Ronnie bought the farm back from Annemie, the spinster, my mother got a professor, Dr. Elena Scheffler from UCT, to do proper research on the farm. So Elena spent about a year in the archives and basically came up with this manuscript of the history, and it was so beautiful and rich that that is how we have taken Mirati forward from that research project she did. And that's where also a few years ago, about 8 years ago, I decided that I would start naming our wines after people that lived here over the past 300 years. So Mirati was established in the year 1685. So as a privately owned family farm, we, you know, in the top 5 or so of oldest privately owned wine estates around in the country. And the history started with a certain German soldier called Lawrence Kampfer, who left the armed forces. He was a mercenary and was granted this land by Gouverneur Simon van der Stel, and with instructions in Groot-Hollands, beplanten, bepoten, betimmeren, and bezaaien. And that is what he did here. So he came, cleared some land, tilled the soil, with the instructions given to him. But the problem that he had was, while he was a soldier based at the Cape, his barracks were very close to the slave quarters and to the gardens of the Cape. And there he met a little slave girl who was working in the gardens, and her name was Ancella. And this little girl, Ancella, was born in the slave house. Her mother was taken from Guinea in West Africa in the year 1658 and put on a slave ship called Amersfoort. And that ship sailed via Guinea to Angola and then to the Cape. And in 1658, 120 slaves were brought here, and Ancella's mother was one of them. So Ancella was born, she was a product of the slave lady and probably a soldier or a sailor, that we don't know. But the point was, Ancella was born in the castle, in the dungeon, given a name, and in those days, any slave born at the Cape, the surname was always van der Kaap, so that the Dutch officials knew where the slaves came from. So we know about Anthony van Bengala, he came from Bengal, and so we knew where the people came from. So this little Ancella, she grew up in the slave house, and then when she was old enough, she had to work in the gardens where they grew all the vegetables, which supplied all the Dutch vessels sailing to the east, and that's where Lawrence met her. So Lawrence then comes out to Mirati. At that time, it was called the Driesprong. He starts his farming career here, his life. But his girlfriend, the love of his life, Ancella, clearly could not join him because she was a slave. So, and you know, Mirati is just outside Stellenbosch, and it's about, 35, 40 k's from Cape Town as the crow flies. So what Lawrence had to do in order to see Ancella at the slave house was he had to walk on foot 3 days to Cape Town. And the non-slaves had visitation rights, so they could visit the slaves in the slave house. And what happened in the evening was 8 o'clock at night, they would take a roll call and check in all the slaves. And then at 9 o'clock, they would ring a bell and all the non-slaves were thrown out of the slave house. So Lawrence did this for a period of 10 years. And
Wow.
After 10 years of visiting her, Ancella really obviously wanted to join him here at Mirati. So Ancella had to do a few things. And that was, firstly, she had to become a Christian. So she had to have herself christened. Secondly, she had to be able to speak Dutch fluently. And thirdly, she had to prove to the governor that she would be of no financial burden to the governor. So Lawrence obviously said, okay, he will cover that base. She could speak Dutch and she was christened. So they set her free. And on the 28th of June, 1695, Lawrence fetched her at the slave house, brought her to Mirati with the children now that she had by him, Cornelius, Jacoba, and Achaniki. And they were the first rightful owners of Mirati back in the time. Interestingly enough, when the title deed was signed over, it was 33 days after Simon van der Stel took control of the Cape. So that gives you an idea of what was going on. So then they lived here, and then in 1715, Lawrence passed away, and then Ancella became the owner. So well, it's quite unusual for an emancipated slave to become the owner of a little wine farm or a little farm at the time. So Ancella took over and she ran Mirati until the year 1735. And then she sold the farm. To give you an idea, when she sold the farm for 2,500 Dutch gulden. And to put that in perspective, a mercenary based in the barracks in the Cape was earning 25 gulden a year at the time. So
Wow.
Ancella, did quite well for herself in her life. And then there were quite a few owners, very sporadic few owners. And then the next important one for me or for the Melk family is that in the year 1763, my ancestor, Martin Melk, who came from Oost-Pruisen, from Prussia, he bought Mirati in 1763 and gave it to his daughter, Anna Catharina. And at that time, when Martin Melk bought it, he owned all the property at the foot of the Simonsberg Mountain, which then included Uitkyk, Kanonkop, Mirati, Delheim, and Knorruk. This was all one big farm that the Melks ran. So Anna Catharina married a guy by the name of Beyers, which Anna Catharina's father was in favor of, because like Martin Melk, Mr. Beyers was a staunch Lutheran. And I'm not sure if you know, but Martin Melk, at the time when he bought Mirati, was a very big player in the Cape. In fact, I think he was the wealthiest man at the Cape at the time, because he owned a lot of property. He was in construction. He owned all three, can you believe it, all three taphuis licenties. So basically, all three pubs in Cape Town that supplied wine to the sailors and everybody in the Cape, he had the rights to supply that. So he was a really big player. And so when Martin gave it to his daughter, he agreed when Beyers took her hand in marriage. And Martin and Mr. Beyers were both staunch Lutherans. And at that time, the Lutheran faith was verboten, was not allowed. So in Martin's warehouse in Cape Town, still there today at Strand Street, where they would sell the produce to the sailors and the ships. On a Saturday after work, all the Lutheran people used to get together and have a hidden church service, a scale kerk. And because of Mr. Beyers being part of that group, Martin was quite happy to hand his daughter over to him. So Anna Catharina and Jan David Beyers, they became the owners in 1763. And then this Melk clan, Beyers Melk clan, farmed here for about 120 years. And then it disappeared. And then 115 years later, in 1987, the spinster who owned it then, Alberta Annemarie, she then phoned my father because she knew my dad. Because as a young winemaker, my dad studied winemaking. As a young winemaker, he used to come to Mirati to buy grapes from her for Stellenbosch Farmers Winery. So Alberta knew the history. So when she turned 79, she phoned my father and said, look, I have no children, I have no next of kin, and I would like you to take the farm back into the family fold with a few conditions. And that is that, number one, you would continue in the tradition that she and her late father, George Paul Carnets, had farmed the place, and also to respect the environment. And my dad was only too glad to oblige. And as you asked earlier, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm here, I see myself purely as a custodian of this magnificent place with these 300-year-old trees, incredible terroir at the foot of the Simonsberg Mountain. And yeah, that's what I do. Every day I get up here, I look out northwest, I see Table Mountain, I can give you the weather report in the morning of what's coming, like the northwest coming in right now and the rain we're going to get. So it's a beautifully located piece of land, this. And I always say to the people, you know, Lawrence Comfer was granted this land. And in those days, we might think they were old or those people was in the dark days, but they were clever. He had all the land to choose from, but he chose this little piece at the foot of Simonsberg. So he was clever. And I can tell you, when I sit there at his old house, which still stands today, which today is an art gallery, I often sit outside his house there in the evening, and there's such an incredible energy there. You know, there are trees around me there that were planted by Lawrence, and
So
the energy there is really special. Yeah.
interesting about the trees is I actually watched the history of the slave trade in Cape Town not long ago. And I think in the program they said that the tree that these two were married are still there on the farm, the old oak tree. Is that true?
Yeah. So there's a magnificent tree right at our tasting room here. And this tree is more than 300 years old now. And this tree would have been planted by Lawrence and Ansela. And there are 2 or 3 other ones around as well that you can see. I mean, they are of the same era. So yes, absolutely. This tree is still here. It's magnificent, magnificent tree. And again, I sit here quite often, and there's energy there in that tree that's just, I mean, it's just amazing. Really, really incredible.
That's amazing. You're giving me goosebumps as you're telling the story.
So, you know, all these little things I'm telling you now, Lawrence's house is still standing here.
Mm-hmm.
The original little cellar is still part here. George Paul Carnets, who owned Mirati from 1926. As you might know or might not know, but George Paul Carnets was an artist, first and foremost. Secondly, very much a bohemian man of note. And thirdly, he bought Mirati on a whim because he loved the trees here. I read his journal the other day. And in there, he did say that he was completely blown away by these oak trees when he stumbled upon this place in 1926. And that's the reason why he bought it. And then by default, he had to speak because he was lecturing art at Stellenbosch University. So by default, he went to his friend, Professor Abraham Perrault. And Abraham Perrault was very friendly with all the German-speaking people because Perrault went to Germany and he met a German woman there, which he married. So he had an affinity towards German-speaking folk. And he told Carnes, I will help you farm this place. And so when Carnes bought it in 1926, Perrault helped him. They sent out people here to come and look at the soil, etc., all that. And Perrault advised Carnes to plant Pinot Noir. So Carnes planted Pinot Noir at Mirati in 1927. And we all know that the first Pinot Noir to Africa was made here at Mirati by George Paul Carnes. So my Pinot Noir that we make here, very small amount, but we still make it. And I have named that after him. It's called the George Paul Carnets Pinot Noir. So that, you know, there's a story about George here, and his energy is here. He had an art studio that he built here out of clay bricks that he made, and he built this art studio. The size of the studio was dictated by the carpet that he put down there. And this carpet, a friend of his, a Nobel friend living in Cape Town bought a grand piano in Hamburg and sent for this piano by sea. And obviously, to protect the piano, they wrapped the piano in a big old carpet. So when the piano arrived here in Cape Town Harbour, the carpet was slightly damaged, and his friend didn't want the carpet. So Conrad took the carpet, brought it to Mirati, put it up here outside the cellar, and built his art studio around the size of the carpet. I mean, it's bizarre. And then he built this art studio, which today is a little guest cottage. So it's called the GP Conrad's Guest Cottage. So people can stay there. It's just, you again get the energy of the old man Conrad's. We used to paint there in the morning. In the afternoons, he'd go for a walk and look at his vineyards and talk to the people who were busy helping him making wine and growing his grapes. So, you know, there's just so much around here with the energy between the cottage, between Lawrence Comfort's house, between the oak trees, between the manor house that we have today that was built in about 1763 by the Bayers family. The manor house still stands there. It's exactly the same. Some minor alterations were done by George Paul Conrad, but the gable is a beautiful example of a neoclassical style. It's not the Gothic style. The later years, they were more neoclassical in the structure. They were not so elaborate, not so many curves and draaitjies, where Mirati is a good example of a neoclassical design Cape Dutch gable, basically. So the house is still standing here. It's being lived in 110%. And it's all part of the verf and the feeling that we have here. When we go into the vineyards, because of our terroir, we made a conscious decision about 20 years ago that we would respect the nature by using no pesticides in the vineyards. We release insects that we get to try and fight the mealybug. We are very, very conscious of that. We only pick our grapes by hand, so there's no machine driving through the vineyards and harvesting. It's all done by hand. And when we bring those grapes in, it's in smaller boxes. We hand select on a sorting table. We berry select. We use a lot of natural yeast. So for those who don't know, all the East grape, little korreltjie, has got its little yeast on it. So we use native yeast that's around in the cellar and in the property. We use what we call spontaneous fermentation. And all these things add to give a character that's very much unique to Mirati. So I'm very, not strict, but I believe in that. And that is what we do here. So we try and keep it hands-on, as real as possible. And we still believe, you know, the truth is in the wine, and the wine must honestly speak for itself. George Paul Conrad had a beautiful expression. My quote for the wine expression is always, Conrad always said, seeing is believing, but tasting is the naked truth. And that's what we abide by.
That's an amazing wine philosophy and winemaking philosophy. What else can you tell us about your wines that's interesting? I see you guys are making port as well. When did this start?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think, you know, I call it in the sort of the dark ages. That's there was a bit of a dark time here in Mirati when George Paul Conrad came in here in 1927, and he had all the expertise from Perrault, and he was doing some fantastic work. He fermented his grapes outside the cellar in open fermenters. He used a system of cold water copper pipes. He was one of the first guys that used some kind of cooling, you know, in his tanks, open tanks, concrete tanks. Then he went and then he built himself, at those days, state-of-the-art open fermenting tanks, stackable concrete, one above the other. They were stacked. And these tanks were built, the architectural design came from Algeria, believe it or not, in Africa, because remember the French were involved there. So the French made wine there as well. And that design, Conrad brought it here. And so they were fermenting and making wine in these concrete tanks. He was quite sort of proactive and pushing the boundaries. But then when Alberta, his daughter, took over, it became she didn't want to change anything. She wanted to keep everything the same way her father did. So in that process, things slowly got watered down a bit. So the red wines and the white wines, some years were stunning. Other years, they were not very good at all. But Carnet started making two things. He made a fortified red, a port in those days. He called it a port, which today we can't use the word anymore, but we use a Cape Vintage, Cape Ruby, late bottled Cape Vintage. And he made a white port called the Amber. Now, those two wines, because they are made by fortifying with brandy spirits, you can, to a degree, sterilize your wine. So when you do your fermentation, at a certain point, you add the brandy to it. So the brandy will kill all the yeasts and all the nasty little bacteria, and it will sterilize the product. So there's a better chance that the fortified wine will stay fresh and healthy. If you made a still wine, be it white or red, and it was tainted with acetic acid bacteria, then the wine will spoil and become vinegar. So over the years, in the town Annemie and Ben Prince, our winemaker, port, the Mirati port was a very well-known drink and definitely one of Mirati's tipples of choice, in spite of the fact that there were some stunning years of Pinot Noir, etc., and the red velvet and the claret. But the port was always, if you came here and you drank port, you knew it was going to be a good bet to buy and to drink. And when I came here in 1988, 89, it was the case. Everybody knew Mirati port because Carnet started making that in the early 30s. So, and I totally agree. We still make a beautiful port, and we spend a lot of energy with that. In fact, the oldest vines we have here, port vines, were planted in the year 1977. So that's quite old. But I took it upon myself. I just said, we are living here. We're living. My neighbors, Kanonkop. My neighbors, Rustenburg, Knorrook, Delhi. These are all my immediate neighbors, and they've always made beautiful wines over the years. And there's no reason why we could not do that. So it's taken me about 20 years to grow that with new plantings and new barrels and some techniques in the cellar. But today, it's cheeky of me to say that. But I mean, the Mirati red wines are on the world class, on the stage now. I'm not shy anymore to pour Mirati wines to anybody. 30 years ago when I started here, I wasn't confident in pouring the Mirati wines. But today, I'm not cocky and I'm not, big-headed, but I really am modest about it. But I know what effort's gone in here. And I know what honest work has been put in here. And for that reason, I can quite clearly say now that apart from the fortified port wines, our red wines and the white wines are world class. It's taken a time, but it's there. Beautiful.
Oh, that's amazing. So, right, when people visit the farm, besides, obviously the wine and the art, what else can people experience there? What do you offer guests?
Well, before the little virus came along, my wife Kim started. She likes cooking. The old story. Oh, your wife's Kim. She cooks so well. Why don't you start a restaurant? Don't ever tell anybody to do that. But we did it, and after 4 years of Kim working in the kitchen, she really grew something special here. It's not big. It's small. Say 50 covers maybe on a Saturday or Sunday. But it's good, honest cooking, and Kim started that, and now we've got a little team working with her, so you can come and have a very nice meal here, apart from the wine tasting. It's the little restaurant farm kitchen that we run here. We've also now built, with the help of Topia, Mirant, and Arena, they've built fantastic mountain bike tracks here. And really, again, it's of the best tracks around the Western Cape, no doubt about it. It's all single track cycling. Trail runners use it as well. It is for the skilled mountain biker. It's not for the weekend warrior can come and do some of the tracks. But if you really love mountain biking and you're good at it, this year is absolutely stunning. All the guys, the overseas people, Team Cannondale, Team Scott, they all come and train on these tracks for the Epic. So we've got beautiful mountain biking here. And then we started not little, but we've doing a joint venture with a company to do weddings here. So we had a very good, book heading out now for this next year. But obviously the virus came and has sort of taken the carpet, ripped it out under our feet. So we just have to tread the water now until next year. But if you want to have a wedding, this is also an opportunity where you can come and do it. And what more special place to have a wedding here? I mean, it's just, you can get married under big old 120, 150 old camphor trees, and then have a pre-drinks under Ancella's 300-year-old oak tree, and then move around the corner to the canvas, the Mirati canvas, and there your view of Cape Town is just superlative. So there are a lot of things we've done over the years here, but yet we still retain the honesty and the sincerity that this is a wine estate, and our focus here is to create premium wines.
That's awesome. You've been talking about the virus, and obviously the coronavirus has forced all of us to rethink our business models a bit. Do you have any changes or new ideas in mind?
Well, I mean, you know, there are a few things. I think, as I said to you now, small, what I think is the internet or the IT guys, the more new way of looking at things. We've done a few virtual wine tastings now. This has really pushed us in the direction of Zoom meetings, doing online tastings. That's been quite interesting. It's really been quite funky for me. I've really enjoyed that. And then I think what we'll do now in the future, when the small groups come back again, tour groups that come, and if they make an appointment, which we prefer, we could give them far more smaller special attention, because I think the Mirati history, you know, should be told more often to the people, and not just to come in here, let's taste 4 or 5 wines and move on, but rather come here and spend some time, listen to the stories, taste the wines, and absorb the whole package, instead of just saying, well, we're going to do 3 wines and then we're going to scoot off. So rather come here with your mind. I want to learn about the place. I want to learn about the history. If you're not a big lover of wine, it doesn't really matter, but come and listen to the stories, taste the wines. You will be surprised. You might love them. So these are all things for me that I find with the virus now, is that, you know, people are looking at things again from a different angle. The people walk past the Protea now and they stop and they go back and say, wow, look at this Protea. Isn't it beautiful? And where in the past they'd walk past and say, oh, well, there's another, you know, one of the Western Cape's flowers, and carry on. But that's me. Maybe I'm becoming old and sentimental, but I do think that this has made us think a bit more about what we want to do and where we are, and our policy about everything in life.
Well, I think you're right. And I also think that, you know, technology gives us the opportunity to record and keep these stories and raise awareness about the fantastic offerings we have in the Western Cape through other avenues, right? Which will bring more people to come actually experience it in person over time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt. I mean, we travel, we all, you know, when I go overseas to sell wine, I try and go and see places and all that, and I see how other people do it, and I compare what we do, and I still think, you know what, there's room to be, small is also beautiful, and just be sincere about what you do, and it will pay off. You know, that's my motto, really.
Yeah. So, Rick, your wine journey has been a lifelong one. But what is your most important thing that you've learned through this journey?
Well, as you can quite clearly hear from my conversation with you, there are a few things. I mean, for me, the biggest thing is that, you know, making wine is, anybody can make wine. Anybody can ferment grapes. Anybody can put it in a bottle, and you can put a label on there, and you can tell a beautiful story, and the consumer will probably read your story and listen to your story and maybe be blown away initially by what you say. But at the end of the day, the consumer needs to taste the wine and feel whether they like it or not, and does everything gel with them? Does it all make sense? So what I'm trying to say is marketing is a very important part of your product. But at the end of the day, still, what you put in the bottle, you need to be proud of what you've done and be sincere in what you do. That's basically what Hatting, our winemaker, and myself and my team with Desmond, that's what we do here, is the sincerity, honesty, integrity. In the winemaking, you have to do it. You don't get 2 or 3 chances. You know, you have to be real and stay true to your choice and your ideas and what you do.
Awesome. So, I mean, you've touched on it already, but I'm going to ask you again to give us your favorite wine quote because I loved it.
No, as I say, Old Man Carnes, I wish I'd met him. His
Yeah.
daughter, Annemie, I knew, the spinster, but Old Man Carnes, you know, that these are little things, seeing is believing, tasting is the naked truth. That is what our motto is. That's what you have to believe in.
Oh, awesome. Ryk, it's been such a pleasure talking to you, and I think people are going to find this, our listeners will find this extremely interesting. How do people find you? If they want to get hold of you, whatever, how do they get hold of you?
They must just come to Mirati, look for this grumpy oak with the long hair that walks around. Yeah.
Okay,
No,
awesome.
you know what? Easily, our website's very easy. It's just, you know, www.mirati.co.za. We've got a great website. I've got a lovely team here. Lawrence in the tasting room. Desmond is our sales and marketing guy. And then Hafting, my winemaker, and the assistant winemaker, and our team in the vineyards. We're a small group, but anybody who comes here and asks, where's Hafting, where's Ryk, where's Desmond, they will all be able to tell you where we are. So it's a nice family, you know, working family that lives and works here.
Okay, well, we'll put the links in the description. And thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I know you guys are busy. And good luck with everything. And thanks.
Yeah, and as we said, you know, we'll do a little promotion on the Magnums now, so people can just follow up on that. We do for this season now, for the winter, and all the COVID time, we'll give a discount on our Magnums. We're doing this promotion, so they can just get in touch, you know, with you or Lisa, and that's a nice little project we'll do as well. So there's some little surprise in there as well.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you very much, Ryk.
All right, great pleasure. Keep well.
Thank you for listening to today's show. Just a quick reminder that you can get that 1.5 liter Magnum discount. So hurry, get in touch with Lisa. She's at Lisa Loves Wines, and we have the link in the description.